Welcome to the Cruising is Life podcast. Whether you're a seasoned cruiser or just starting out, we have something for everyone. So sit back, relax, and get ready to set sail with us on the Cruising is Life podcast.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. We're back for yet another episode. We got big news from Royal Caribbean, I guess a huge milestone almost from Royal Caribbean this week. But before we get started, we are joined by Dimitri. Hello, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, Justin couldn't make it today, so it's just me and Dimitri. But we got a pretty exciting topic, as I feel like Royal Caribbean had a really big emphasis, several years ago on China, and of course everything happened back in 2020. But I feel like the return of Spectrum really made it like a big impact, or like a big signification that finally that market's going to come back soon.
And I mean, that's so true. I mean, with everything with the COVID, that was the main starting point of everything, and all the bad news was centered there. For them to send such a big ship, granted, the ship was built and already had all the Chinese stuff, or that market, to send it back, and it's doing good. It means something. I mean, granted, I don't think everybody's had that luck, like with Norwegian and Norwegian Joy, and
Right.
Cost ships over there. Princess has a ship, Celebrity has a ship, but they're all old, small, nothing like
Right.
a brand new class ship. So it's like something's going on over there. I don't know what the itineraries, maybe that's what people like over there. I don't know.
Yeah, I know it's definitely a different type of cruising. Of course, that's why anytime we see a ship, especially new builds specifically, that are going over to China, usually they are purposely built for it, and they're vastly different than anything else we see, especially here in the U.S. Of course, main example being Norwegian Joy, and just the way that was all done.
And I mean, the other thing is that over there, I know they love huge casinos and stuff. So the casino is 3 times the size of a normal casino on a regular ship.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's the difference that they make, and different things to make the ship for that market. And it's hard to switch it back. Joy had to go into a huge dry dock to change everything.
Right. That one had a price tag of $50 million or something like that. And of course, that was also, almost 5 years ago at this point. So, that's very hefty price tag when it comes to reconverting a ship back to, or I guess re-Americanizing a ship. And so with, and that's, again, around that time, 2017, 2018, 2019, there was a lot of ships that at the time were going to China. It felt like the market at that time was just heading that direction, and the U.S. was almost going to... Right.
Yeah.
At the time, the U.S. almost felt like it was going to become a secondary market for some of these cruise lines. I think even at the time, Royal Caribbean had maybe at least two, maybe 3 or 4 ships over there at one point.
I was going to say, did they have Jewel of the Seas was over there or something, and a Vision class was over there?
Right, exactly. I know at one point there was multiple Voyager class ships over there. I know they had
Voyager was or Mariner was always there.
Yeah, Mariner, maybe Explorer too, but there's at least 2 Voyager class, and of course they had all those Quantum class ships that are still kind of over there in a sense. They brought Quantum over originally in 2014, but then they moved it pretty much straight over there after a season.
I mean, I haven't really heard any bad things to say. I'd love to go over there. You know what I'm saying? I think it's on everybody's bucket list.
Right.
And I think that's a good way to see it. You go on a Japanese cruise, Chinese, you go visit all the islands and stuff, but haven't heard really anything bad. And
right.
I mean, if it's successful for them, it's an easy enough market where they can, in the summer, go over to Alaska. They can make money off of Trans-Pacific, or head to Hawaii, or even down to Australia, because big market, you're close to pretty much everything.
Right, exactly. And yeah, how much I want to go visit Japan, but
a lot.
And that's one of the unique things about China is that Yeah, like all these cruise ships and stuff like that that go over there, they visit places like Japan, Korea, but they typically start over in um over in China. Like they typically will sail out of Shanghai, but then
Uh,
they'll sail around Japan or Korea. And quick shout out
where
to Brady that just gave us a $30 Canadian super chat. Thanks so much. Said new week, new super chat, easy money for the goat. I appreciate it so much, buddy.
he's getting rich. Um, was it Shanghai that just got like a new terminal like a couple years ago? Like they built like a separate island for it or something, or is that Hong Kong? I don't know.
Um, I want to say maybe it was Hong Kong,
Oh, okay.
but it wouldn't surprise me at all if it was Shanghai.
Mm, got it.
Yeah, I know the Shanghai cruise terminal, or I guess, yeah, Shanghai seems to be like the strong point for China.
Mhm.
Is that whole northern China area? I guess that's typically where they'll sail out of. That seems like to be the main coastal city over there.
Yeah, I mean it makes. Yeah, I mean that's like one of the biggest cities in the world. So
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be like having a port city like Dubai and not sending a ship there. They go to some like random coastal town and sail to there. Like it wouldn't make too much sense. But Hong Kong being on the bottom side of China is probably that's a little bit closer to like if they were to do like a extended, say, a Singapore cruise, like a cruise out of Singapore. Like I know the Spectrum was just doing that. I think if they do an extended one, that's probably something that they would visit is Hong Kong.
oh, hello, cat. And the other thing is that like there's like all these other I feel like small cruise lines over there, like Star Cruises and
Right.
like Genting, which I think Genting is bankrupt? Question mark.
Yes, correct.
They're not. I mean, I think Star. I mean, they just have like a gazillion small ships. I don't know how they're doing or if they're whatever, but nothing notable. So I mean, I feel like the market. I don't want to say like it could be saturated, like with just cruises in general, but like as in like big companies, big ships. Your Royal Caribbean is just the main one over there, except for a small ship here and there or visiting every
Right.
once in a while. That's it.
Yeah, there's definitely I would say that market has a bit of an oversaturation of ships, but not big ships. Like
Big
you said,
ships.
Star Cruises has, all those little tiny ones. And
Mhm.
again, it's definitely a market that primarily likes to gamble. So if you get a smaller ship that has large casinos, that's really all the people go for.
That's all they need. And all the luxury ships go there too, because that's where all the rich people can go to vacation.
Right, exactly. But then you'll get the big ones. You'll get the 1, 2, or 3 from Royal Caribbean. You'll get Norwegian. Norwegian's got a ship over there right now, I think.
Is it Star? Is Star over there, or one of those, or a Jewel? Not Jewel. Jewel's here. Or like one of those class ships are over there now.
I think it's either the Jewel. I want to say the
Pearl.
Sun was supposed to be over there at one point.
Well, the Sun's in dry dock in Vancouver,
Okay, so it's definitely not the Sun.
doing Alaska.
I want to say maybe it's the Jewel or the Star.
What's the Jewel? Oh, side note, did you see that they canceled the cruises on Radiance?
Oh, you're right. The passengers were like
Oh,
on
sorry.
board, and then
Yeah, and then they kicked them off.
they're like, "Hey, yeah, we're not making it out of port today because of
I think it's like
ships
an
not working."
Azapod.
Yeah, the ship was literally just in dry dock in Freeport. It came over and it was broken again before it even got to Alaska.
The
Crazy.
Tampa Current, I tell
For real though.
you. Anywho, but yeah, it's just, and also like over there. I mean, obviously, I know there's a lot of ports to go visit, but there's a lot of tender ports over there, are there not? So, like, if you're going to put big ships over there, they got to make sure they can tender. I don't know if they're going to put an Oasis over there, or if they do, it's just going to visit, the main. Because obviously, the port cities are huge. Every single city over there is huge, but for places where people want a vacation, they don't want to go to a cargo port. Like, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And yeah, I feel like There's Yeah, I feel like it's not that bad for some of the places. Like I've seen pictures of like the port areas like Kobe in Japan, which I think
But yeah,
is
that's
I
an
think
issue.
Kobe
That's
is the one outside of Tokyo, but like you also have like Nagasaki, Kyoto, things like that. I don't
yeah.
think those are overly industrial. I mean, I know those are obviously very, very big cities,
Mhm.
but I don't know if those are like overly industrial, like, cargo ports type of thing.
Got it. Oh, and I remember Spirit was over there for the longest time. Norwegian.
Oh, yes, yes, that's right. She was there for a very long time.
Yes.
But yeah, so I guess I don't know if at this point I've already forgotten if we mentioned it, but yeah, like Spectrum of the Seas was sailing out of Singapore since pretty much like late 2020, whenever that was like one of the first ships to actually start going back up into service.
Mhm.
And it started sailing out of Singapore, which of course we know the ship came out in 2019, and it was
Yeah.
purposely built for China, and with
Mhm.
everything that happened. But they've been sailing out of Singapore for the last 4 years. But now she's finally moving back up to the port in the port city that she was, built to go into. And I feel like that, could end up leading into, more ships returning. And I know we do have more ships returning, or not returning, but even going over there over the next few years.
I mean, good for them. I mean, you can only have, as an example,
So many.
five. Like you were saying last week or the week before, Miami's full.
Hmm.
Canaveral's full. They're all full. You got to share the love, as per
Right.
se.
Right.
And I mean, that's a market that you can dip your toes into with newer to old. You got to put something kind of, what do you call it, competitive there. And I mean, you either sink or you swim. So,
Right, exactly. And yeah, I mean, you're completely right. Like all the American ports are full. As selfish as I want to be to say, yeah, I want all the ships to be over here. In a sense, it's not practical because if there's people in certain parts of the world that want to go on cruises, you're going to put ships over there. I mean,
but yeah,
again,
not
it
only
was
that, I
it
mean,
was one of the busiest, most crazy booming markets in the entire industry pre-COVID.
yeah. And it's kind of like a two-sided sword where, okay, you might put a good ship over there, it might not do good, but then you and we might look at a ship and, say, oh, flights are, $2,000, or let's just say, to go over there. I'm not going to go on Norwegian Sky for 11 days. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, you want something nicer because then you're also going to pay, an arm and a leg. So it's like you might as well have a nice ship while you're over there. And that's just all markets generally.
Right, exactly. And I think, I mean, that's exactly my perspective too, is, it's definitely a few years down the road, so I'm not in
Oh,
any
yeah.
means by like ready to, book something like this, but I do plan to go there. I do plan to go on something out of China, or, some. I think there's always like one or two sailings that are actually out of Japan, so maybe I'll just do one out of Japan because that's kind of where I want to go in the first place. But,
Yeah, and
like
I'm not a geo buff, but what? Japan, I'd imagine that's like a 7 day itself. Then like east
right.
coast of China, like a coastline is like another 7 day. Then like more
Right.
south would be like the Vietnam and
Hmm.
Philippine and like Malay, like all of those down there. If you want to go to like Bali and stuff,
Yeah,
that's a whole different.
that's like multiple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So like I think Japan itself,
Hmm.
you can do 7 days. Do ships stop in Korea, or is that like a no zone?
Yeah, there's, well, South Korea, of course, but
South Korea. Yeah, yes.
I don't know if they like ships up in the north part of that.
Patron
But
seeds in North Korea. People told.
but yeah, I know there's at least one or two like major port stops because I've seen a lot of even like the couple sailings that actually go out of Japan, do go up to South Korea and one or two of the spots because I know the capital of South Korea is kind of like landlocked or like kind of in the middle of the country, but I know they
Oh,
do have
is
some
it
pretty,
Seoul?
yeah, Seoul's kind of like right in the center of it, but they're more
Uh,
of there are a pretty good coastal or amount of coastal cities though, so it's definitely definitely a possibility that they do a couple stops up there too. But yeah, I mean, if I was to go all the way out there, whenever that day ends up coming, like I don't want to go on a small ship. I don't want to go on, not knocking Norwegian Spirit, but I don't want to go on the tiny little Norwegian Spirit. I don't want to go on, these tiny little casino ships. I've already decided, like, if and when I go over there, I'm going on Spectrum.
Oh, I think that's the best way to do it.
Like, not only is it, the Quantum class, I want to go on it in the first place, but, that ship was made for that area, everything like that. Like, that's the perfect ship to do it on anyways. So, I mean, and you got, not, again, it's not tailored for the American, the American travelers. Most of the crew, I would assume, probably do speak English, of course, because that's kind of a requirement to be on some of these ships. But, everyone on board probably speaks Chinese, most likely Japanese, maybe in a sense.
I'd imagine that you'd be definitely the minority.
Right. Like, I know whenever Joy... Right. When Joy was sailing out of China, I know whenever they were hiring for that ship, you could tell they were hiring for that specific ship because they were like Mandarin requirements. You must speak Mandarin.
Oh yeah, and I'd imagine, and like
those aren't easy languages to learn.
Reviews are from people who expect it to be like a Caribbean cruise, and it's not.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why they have to make them so different over there, is because that's not what people want over there.
Well, not only that, like, I mean, I had told you, after we got off of this cruise, but like on MSC, even out of Miami, we were the minority, as in English-speaking people. Like, right. That's how it felt. So it's like, to each their own, but like, you just have to understand that
there's cultural differences.
Oh, 100%.
Big time, especially over in Asia. I mean, like, yeah, maybe we get a lot of influence from Europe, historically, that's kind of where people settled, is over here in this country, but there's definitely much larger cultural differences when it comes to the US and Asia. So it's hard to make an adjustment if you're expecting a Caribbean cruise over in China, then you're not.
No, you're not going to get that.
You're not going to get that. You're not going to want to even go there in the first place.
And like, personally, I'm surprised, like all these years, I'm surprised that Australia, New Zealand, like that area hasn't blown up. Like, just
it was at one point. I feel like pre-COVID that area was too, and it's definitely a seasonal thing too. I know, like, Ovation and Quantum used to go there during the summertime, I guess the winter, but summer down there, and then they would move back up to China in the off seasons. And that seems to be what they're doing too.
Over there.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if, one of the Edge class ships end up over. I know there's already one in Australia, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a celebrity ship over in Asia as well.
That, I mean, they already have, like, in what is it, Millenniums over there, and
you're right.
Kind of.
Right, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, if we see an Edge class, probably Edge, just because it's already over there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something over there soon.
It's starting in Alaska next week. I'm very excited for that.
Edge. Oh my gosh, you're right. That's so cool. Could you imagine being on the magic carpet, going through those glaciers? Oh my God. That's got to be so cool.
That is so cool.
And that's another.
Did she go through China, or did she go straight to Hawaii, like through Bora Bora?
I think she most likely went through like the, I guess, diagonally instead of up and around.
Got it, yeah.
So she probably went to Hawaii. Yeah. It seems to be like the normal one. Every now and then you'll catch one that does it very uniquely, where it goes up and around from Australia.
It's so early, so it's probably all frozen up there.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, it's a little bit cheaper just to cut straight across than to go all the way up and then all the way around too. So you don't see it very often. But like, I know at one point, I mean, this was years ago, but Ovation had a sailing. I think this is when they were first planning to put it over there. But it started in Australia and went over to Singapore, Hong Kong, Vietnam, all that, worked its way up into China, around to Japan, to Korea, and then made its way down Alaska, which that is a bucket list cruise for me. That too.
Yeah, 100%. And like those northern Alaska ports,
Yeah, you
those
don't
are
get
so
those very often.
you don't get them at all.
Right. That's one of the big things with Alaska, and one of the cool things about, the Asia cruise market is you can kind of share ships if you do it right, which I know that's kind of Royal Caribbean strategy with a couple of the ships that we'll talk about later, but yeah, like those northern Alaska ports, you don't get those just because these larger ships, sometimes they'll fit, but sometimes they
They
don't.
don't.
It
And they
depends,
don't
yeah,
like
but
the cruise ships up there, I don't think.
right. And so usually you get the smaller ones that only do one-way trips, or they'll do 7 days up and then 7 days
Yeah,
down.
7 days down. Yeah, I think Norwegian does that.
Right, exactly. Man, Brady with another 15. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. He says congratulations to Tyler, the newest goat in the cruising media.
God.
Thanks so much, Brady.
Wow.
But yeah, like, that's also, I hear that's the way to do Alaska though, like especially for your first time, is to do those smaller ships.
I mean, we did Joy. I mean, it was fine. We got to see everything that we wanted to. So
Right, exactly. Yeah,
we'll
there's
definitely go back.
yeah. Yeah, I want to do it. I think at one point we were looking at Alaska for this for 2025, but we ended up booking Star instead, which I feel like, having already done Icon, now I'm like, yeah, like as much as I loved Icon, maybe doing an adventurous cruise for once would be really cool. I think that's my biggest thing is like I've done all these ships, I've done all these cruises, but I really haven't done anything overly adventurous other than the Panama Canal cruise. So that's something I do want to kind of like do in the future of the next couple of years.
I'm waiting for the day Oasis class to Alaska, Oasis class to China, Oasis class to Australia.
Speaking
I'm waiting
of,
for the day. I'm waiting
of,
for it.
so I don't know about Australia because I don't know if Sydney Harbor is large enough, but Oasis 7.
Oasis 7.
Oasis 7. With the old news that was, Wonder was supposed to originally be going to China. She was originally purposely built. Everything happens kind of in the right time to where we got her here in the U.S. Do you think they followed through with that Oasis 7 order that they were kind of on the fence about? Yeah, they weren't too sure, and maybe that's why they ordered it, is because China's finally recovering.
I mean, maybe with 7 of those ships,
Yeah,
you can't put them all here, as in Caribbean here.
Nah,
You gotta spread them around. Like, okay, fine, you can have one in the Western Med.
Mm-hmm.
You can put one in New York to go to Bermuda.
Right.
I am also surprised that they fit in like Boston and Halifax and stuff up there. That was very surprising.
I know Brady just asked if Oasis can even fit in Alaska. I mean, that's another major place where you got to put ships, but I don't think it could. I think the Breakaway Plus and the Quantum class ships, I think those are pretty much cutting it. Like, I don't think you can get much bigger up in Alaska.
I mean, Alaska is just so saturated.
That too.
Already. That I can only imagine. I mean, they may be able to fit like in Ketchikan, where the Norwegian built like that new pier like off to the side in their like little cove. I don't think they'd be able to fit in Skagway.
No.
You can try later in the game. Wink, wink. They might be able to fit like Icy Strait Point, because that dock is just like on the side, like there's nothing. You just kind of pull up to it.
Right.
Juneau's huge, so I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. But then you also have to think
there's limitations for the ships.
Under Vancouver.
Right. Oh yeah, that's too.
And then Seattle. I mean, Norwegian has their own terminal in Seattle, the one that's downtown compared to all the other ones, the Smith Cove ones. I don't think they could fit at Smith Cove. I think they'd have to use the Norwegian one, not a Space Needle.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, that's like one of the big things with the Oasis classes. Yeah, like even today, like all these Caribbean ports have opened up, but around the world, I don't think the rest of the world is even ready yet. Even, almost 15, 20 years later, I still don't think there's a lot of places in the world that are ready for an Oasis class. But
True, and I see that.
China is the one place though where, I mean, the
Ah,
Mediterranean gets one every year at this point just because of how many there are, but China, they've been asking for it for so long.
but is that market big enough to do however many 6,000 people every single week, 4 days,
Right.
however long they're gonna? 'Cause, I mean, doesn't China like shorter cruises? Like they're not like 7 day people. Like you know what I'm saying? Like they like the weekend stuff.
I think you're right. I think they do like shorter cruising and probably more for the gambling
Uh,
side of it. Um,
yeah,
and it could just be, if people want to go gamble, they'll go gamble on the ships for the weekend. So I mean, in that sense, you might get people that just start going all the time, but I, it's very, I don't know, it's questionable. I
it'd be
think
very interesting to see what they do.
the other thing is, yeah, Shanghai might be ready and able to take on an Oasis class, but I mean, if they were going to put Wonder in, they obviously had to do a lot of planning years ago if they were already planning to put Wonder over there. So they must have some confidence, if they do eventually plan to come back, and they're about to send multiple Quantum class ships over there. So maybe it is time eventually. I don't know. You know I don't know if there's other places, the port stops could necessarily handle an Oasis class, but I definitely know that Shanghai is ready for it.
And going back to what Bird said in the chat, they need more indoor pools on Oasis class. Isn't the temperature like hot in China? And
Um,
I know he was talking about Alaska, but I mean the Breakaway Plus class ships don't have indoor pools, and it's not
right,
really an issue.
right, and
The Edge class, if they're going to start sending those there, who else goes to Alaska a lot?
right. And thanks again, Brady Brady. What the
Oh my
what
God.
the heck, man? Another 15. But it says Dimitri's been elevated to goat status. He's been on great on the Norwegian pod. Congratulations. So when is the fan Q&A? Oh, okay. We're gonna do it
We can take
soon.
a couple questions now. Put them in the chat and we'll answer.
Yeah, as long as they're related, we'll do a couple questions tonight, and we'll keep an eye on the chat a little bit. But we are gonna do a fan Q&A. We'll do one this month, I promise. We're gonna aim for next
Yes,
week, but this
Holland
month,
America does go to Alaska a ton. Those ships do have indoor pools, but that's all the
yes.
old people. They can't handle the cold. So,
Yes, and I do like what they mentioned earlier about if an Oasis class is going to be put in China, it would be Wonder. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
or like one
it's
with the enclosed and solarium.
right, exactly. I think, yeah, I mean, it's not like they couldn't just take Wonder. Obviously, they have to do a lot of refitting, but there's already a lot of things that carried over that they can just leave on there. I don't think I noticed any like of like the Chinese text and things like that on like the signage or anything like that. Like that all
Mhm.
got changed.
Yeah,
But to my knowledge, like I think it's obviously got to be just running around a warehouse too. Um, oh, and the natural gas. So
I do see that. Yeah, I mean, as much as from the engineering side of it, obviously, because that's what I study, that technology is just like so new.
mhm.
Not many ports can sustain it.
Right.
Cape Port Canaveral just got it because Mardi Gras and just went there a celebration. Same thing
Mhm.
with Miami. Not very
Right.
many ports in
It's
Europe do it.
such a logistical nightmare of what they already work on anyways with that.
And like I said, it's just like electric cars. Like it's got differing,
Right.
um, how people think of it and how clean is it really. I
Right, that
think
too.
personally, the next step is going to be onshore power where they can just completely turn off in the port.
I
That's what I think
think
can be the best thing.
I heard MSC is working on that.
I did see that. They keep showing a commercial 30 times a day on the TV about them being super clean. But let me tell
Yeah.
you, when we went to the white party, I don't think I ever told you this. Sorry, sidetrack. The white party on Seascape, and obviously the pool deck is behind the funnel. I don't know if that ship is LNG. I don't think it is, or if
No.
it doesn't. Whatever. Obviously, I was wearing white, and I was walking down the stairs, and my shirt rubbed up against the railing. All black. All the railings on that ship were black behind the funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Actually,
so
surprisingly, Wonder was like that. I had a boardwalk balcony on Wonder, and that was the only I've only had, other than Allure, I've always had boardwalk balconies on the Oasis class. I've never experienced that except for on Wonder. Like all the white railings on the balcony were all black. Yeah, just from all the soot coming down. They'd clean it every day. Like you'd come back and it'd be clean whenever the room guy just came through, but he'd be black, later on. I mean, obviously it's a ship. It's gas, diesel engines.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it's gonna push out soot.
Also, what do you call it? Like the floor, obviously you kind of go barefoot when you're at the pool. The bottom of your feet were black from the soot.
Yeah,
I've
noticed
weird.
It's also random because there was I want to say one of the times I was on Independence, it had just rained and it was kind of clumpy black spots all over the deck. But that was only one time on the ship, 3 times that year. So I think it's also it could just be depending on how much fuel they're pushing. And I mean, if you're running at max fuel, you're going to be pushing out a lot more soot too.
True.
No matter how green.
Sorry, in the chat, MSC Seascape was the ship that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't think that ship has any. I think it's the Meraviglia class that has
Seaside.
all the new.
Yeah, Meraviglia. Yeah, I think so. And all these new ships, and I get this comment on so many videos, and I'm sure you do too. But they see all the white smoke that usually pours out of the smokestacks on these ships. The white smoke is always typically clean because it's steam, because it's from the sulfur scrubbers, and so the white smoke is steam. But black, yes, and these are diesel engines. No matter how clean you want to be, diesel is just not going to be the cleanest. It's gonna push out soot no matter how much they try to limit it. But that's also what they do with the scrubbers, is they try to make it at least less of an impact. So they do what they can.
Truthfully, between us, I get the engineering side of it. I don't want to say they're doing the most that they can. They're doing the bare minimum to pass these laws, because that technology is expensive AF. And to further that technology, as in, develop new systems and stuff, maybe MSC is ready to invest that kind of money, because that's just kind of what they're going for. Ocean K is clean, and nature sanctuary, blah blah, and they go to remote places in Norway and stuff, and you can't stop there unless thing. But like I said, going back to it, shoreside power, I think that's the way it's going to go. Granted, you're going to need a lot of electricity. It's not like plugging in your phone into the wall, but I think that'll be easier and more environmentally friendly than just trying to figure out how to make diesel engines, which have been around for hundreds of years, clean. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Right. They're diesel engines. It's not going to be perfect.
BFFR. Let's be real for a second.
And it's not like you can't be, no matter how hard you try, no matter how way you look at it, even electric car, using cars just as an everyday example, electric cars aren't over, on paper they seem clean because they're not putting out, emissions the way the cars do, but there's also a different side. Right.
Where's that lithium being mined from children miners in Africa? I won't get into that. We're going to get political. But
right. So there's a lot of unenvironmentally friendly things go into making the parts for that quote unquote environmentally friendly car. So the technology definitely hasn't been applied to cruise ships just yet, and we're probably a long way away from that. Hydrogen fuel cell maybe, or unless you can get a ship to run off of solar, which again that's not going to happen anytime soon. So
the Oasis class, don't they have solar panels?
I think they do. I know the originals do have them, but I don't know what extent they use them to.
I think maybe it's for the air conditioning.
Probably. Back on topic of China though.
Yes.
I actually, I was in the mindset that Oasis 7 was probably going to go to China if they are going to do that, but to the point of Jaco in our chat here mentioning that Utopia and Oasis 7 are going to both be liquefied natural gas, and kind of where we started that tangent there. They definitely don't have the abilities, most likely, unless they just want to do it. But I don't really see that market just going out of their way just for one ship.
No, I don't.
And also the emission standards over in China is just non-existent anyways. So they don't really care like the U.S. does. Mm-hmm. So I could definitely see it. Wanderer, I guess, would be the ship to go over to China.
I mean, yeah.
Especially because she was the one that was supposed to go there. I mean, if any of the 7, it's going to be Wonder, I guess. Process of elimination.
True. And I mean, that's a big decision.
That is a big decision. That's an expensive decision because that's going to be
obviously, you have to go around South America.
That too. South America,
and
or something.
Gonna stop for fuel in South America. Mm-hmm. What, Rio?
Yeah, you got to get the ship over there somehow. That's also the tough part. Could they do the Suez?
I think so.
So I mean that's also, but I guess that's not.
I think that's even further.
You don't really want to be over there right now, anyways. So
I was going to say I don't think.
You
but
don't want to be over there.
The other thing is that there's a wall going on.
That's not funny, but it's just
Stop.
the way it was
You're
said.
the one that's laughing, so
I know.
keep it to yourself.
That's why I said it's not funny, because I giggled at that.
26 itineraries are out, so it's not happening anytime soon.
Right.
But
there's definitely a big plan going on with the fact that they ordered Oasis 7, and then this big event, and they made a big deal about it. And they had like that big drone show, and like there's a big celebration for Spectrum returning to China. Like they're excited over there for it. And I think Royal Caribbean is too.
Yeah. It's all up in the air. I mean, yeah, it would be cool. It would be nice. Can't have 7 Oasis class here in Florida.
Exactly.
But
it's not practical to have them, especially now that you now have a 2 and 3 Icon class on the way.
Yeah.
So you can't have that much passage to one side of it. Royal Caribbean is apparently pretty close to being completely booked out for the entire rest of this year. So, I mean, yes, they got the demand for it, and the cruise industry here in the U.S. is that strong to where, yeah, I mean, we do have the capacity for it. We have the ability to sell out ships, but you also, you can't put those all in the same place at the same time. It just won't work.
Yeah.
And then, again, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, you can't just ignore an entire market too, especially one like China, which I think at some point will be just as big as the U.S. I'm sure. I mean, that was looking that way pre-COVID. I think now that it's ready to come back, and again, Spectrum is just going to be the start of it. I feel like you can't just ignore that market and just not send ships over there because you don't want to.
I'm trying to think of. I mean, nobody else has really committed. Carnival's never committed, and I don't ever see them committing to over there.
They use Costa for that, and I think that's one thing that really hurt Costa, is that they started to kind of leverage their ships and leverage that market a little too much during COVID, because I think they had 5 or 6 over there.
They had like Fabulosa over there, Luminosa over there. They had a whole bunch of like those Conquest class,
Conquest and Concordia class were over there. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, there were like 4 of them over there at one point, and I'm like, aren't you guys supposed to be like in Europe or Norway or?
Right, that's what hurt them. Honestly, that's probably why we have the 2 Vista class ships that they had, is because they just. I mean, MSC was kind of running the show, and like starting to like be up and coming. And Costa was going, uh-oh, and they started leveraging a little bit more in Asia, and then all of a sudden they came back and were like, all right, well, Europe's our only option, so back to back to where we started from, cool, but MSC's already running the show. They ran them out of out of that market pretty much.
Yeah. MSC had Ameriviglio was over there, was it not?
Bellissima, yes.
Bellissima, yep.
And
because then that was in Dubai,
and
then like to
the third world-class ship from MSC is the MSC World Asia that was recently announced.
That is true.
So now we have MSC looking to bring a 200,000 ton ship over there.
And this is not really a tangent, but I don't know why cruise lines put themselves and back themselves down into a hole with naming their ships after countries.
It's just
Did
MSC.
you not see like Norwegian with Norwegian, Pride of America, Norwegian, what's the other one that was Pride of Aloha.
Pride of Aloha, Pride of Hawaii. That was like a special case, but yeah, they definitely did. I mean, Pride of America's American flagged, and that's kind of why, and that's the only reason it has that. But they're backed in such a corner where like they have nothing else they can do with that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like, you know, the cruise lines are starting to recognize that, yeah, China's probably back on the upswing, and you know, who even knows like what that market is like. And it's also like the population over there. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of people here in the US. I don't know the actual number. I want to say at least 300 something million people, but there are over 1 billion, with it be billion people that live in China by itself at minimum. You know, definitely more. And Jesus, Brady, what the heck, man? Another 10. One day I need the goats all to sign the. Bro, that would be the coolest thing to me. Signing somebody's ship model would be so cool. not that I am anywhere prepared to like sign autographs or anything like that, but yeah, that would be such a cool feeling though.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe, you know, they're starting to recognize it's back on the upswing. And
I mean, yeah, now that you just reminded me that World Asia is going over there, I think Wonder will go over there. I don't know if Carnival will respond. I don't think they will. Maybe an Excel from Costa like Toscana or one of those will go over there.
Yeah,
Celebrity. I mean, they could send an Edge over there or a Solstice over there. I mean, I feel like those are just kind of very nondescript. I think it's going to be slow.
Yeah,
a slow build.
It's going to be a very slow build.
One ship there, I think it'll
2027. I mean, 2027 when we see the arrival of Oasis 7, or 2028 is that when it is? 27, I think, is the fourth Carnival ship. But I think that's probably when we're going to see the big swing from everybody. And I mean, we're only talking about Spectrum right now, but we also have, you know, additional Quantum class ships over the next couple of years that are going to be going over there. So, I mean, they're showing that they've probably got the capacity. I mean, the jump between Quantum to Oasis is not that much in the grand scheme of things in a market like that. I mean, it's 1,000 people per sailing or so.
But it's something new and different.
Right, exactly. And I know for a fact, I mean, having a ship like an Oasis class over in Asia, that's going to be a big, big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, just having a Quantum class over there is a huge deal for them, and it's huge, and it's extremely popular. But yeah, I think the Wonder would be very successful over in China, and obviously they thought so in the first place back in 2019 when they announced that. But I mean, I still think it's going to be. I think that's going to be the case, and I don't, like you mentioned, I don't think Carnival will ever go to China. I think they've got their subsidiaries like Costa, Princess, and all their other cruises, and I think that's why they never did it in the first place. I know at one point they had plans to send Miracle and Splendor over there, but that never happened.
Never happened. I do remember that.
So that's probably why. It's just I think that's where Carnival has the advantage over Royal Caribbean in that sense, is because they can use their subsidiaries that have identical ships, the Concordia class, the Conquest class, you know, even the XL ships like Toscana and Smeralda. I mean, it's possible that one of those two end up over there, even though they're natural gas. But yeah, it's absolutely possible. We could see, you know, the return of so many ships over there too. Do you think with the Prima class, those are obviously more worldwide ships, do you think we'll see one of those head over to Asia? Or do you think
I
we're
don't
going to get
know.
a modern
Ready.
Norwegian Joy?
I don't know if Norwegian's ready to dip their toes back into it. I don't think refitting the ship as much as they did for Joy will ever happen again.
Mm-hmm.
They may send a ship over there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Maybe they'll send, like a getaway over there or something. But I don't know if they're going to go back into that market as per se with a big ship like that. There's just not enough Prima classes right now. I
Not
think they do pretty well with what they're doing with Viva doing San Juan, Southern Caribbean half the year, and
Right.
Iceland and UK. Or no, that's Prima. Viva does Eastern Mediterranean, and then Prima doing New York, Miami, Galveston, and then Iceland and UK. Other half.
Right. Brady,
That's
Brady,
where
you
they're
are
fine.
blowing your entire paycheck in this chat, man.
Oh
Jeez.
my God, that is a lot of money.
The birds are chirping from the sidelines. He said a minute ago, he says, incorrect. I'm going to purchase him the entire Harmony of the Seas, like the whole ship. Bro, Jesus, man.
Do
I
get
like the sound of that. but yeah, I think, like you mentioned, I don't think they're ready to go full send like they did with the Joy. I don't think they're going to do that with the Prima class, but with 6 of them, I think one of them is going to visit there for maybe a year or two.
Visit, sure.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised I don't know if the Prima or the Viva are the right ships to do that with, but eventually maybe one of these mid-sized Prima Plus ships might do that, but
I imagine those will go to Alaska at some point and then maybe make their way over there.
Those actually would be pretty neat Alaska ships, and that would be really cool because if Royal is doing that with Anthem this coming year or next year or something like that, but it's another, I guess, a big thing with the China market is if you do that, you can send them back and forth, and they kind of went a little bit full send with making it China specific with the Spectrum to where they can't do that necessarily. Yeah. But it's possible that they could do that with one of these other ships, like the Prima class. They could put it over there, instead of one of these Breakaway Plus ships. They send the Prima over there and they run it out of China during the winters. But it does get kind of cold over there. I know that it does get pretty, at least for Japan. I know it's similar climates because they're so close, but it does get still pretty cold and like snowy during the winter.
Yeah, I mean that's every place, like Alaska too.
Right. It's kind of like a Caribbean specific thing, is just not getting snow.
I'd hope not.
Right. The funniest thing is over this past winter, but with the Allure sailing out of Galveston, there's like that deep freeze that they had.
Yeah.
And all the plants in Central Park died. Like it just like that lush,
something about
that beautiful lush greenery in the Allure and like in Central Park, it was just all brown and dead plants. That was the funniest thing.
I can imagine.
Because it got like cold in Galveston.
Cold. Like yeah, it was pretty cold this winter.
Like it got down to like the low 50s and 40s here in Florida, that type of cold. But it's definitely much colder up in Galveston over there.
Yeah. And I mean, here, I'll kind of read a couple things from the chat.
Yes.
How big do you think Discovery class will be? I think Discovery is going to be smaller than a Voyager class. I don't think they're going to send them over there. I think Tampa is the perfect home. Wink, wink.
Yeah. I don't know if these Discovery ships would be. I don't know if these would be China ships specifically.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Maybe Alaska ships.
Oh, definitely Alaska ships. These would almost be like the Breakaway Plus and what Norwegian's doing. I don't know what's going on with my hair here. It's sticking up.
Like, I think they're hoping maybe follow the same motto with like a lot of glass, like the Radiance class ships.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that kind of follows through. But I think they should put those on, obviously do like a season of the Caribbean, but then for the rest of the year, do exotic stuff, just like the Jewel class. And that's going to be the bread and butter for that kind of thing, because you want to go on a 7-day, you want to go on big, blah, blah, blah. The smaller ship, okay, inaugural season, do a Caribbean, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then just do it from there. And then they're going to have to start building them.
Yeah, they have to just start building and planning those things. I mean, we're still probably a couple years out. I mean, we're probably not going to see the first one until this 2028 when we see Oasis 7 at the earliest. So that's kind of where the shipyards are right now. We're not going to start seeing some of these new ships and new orders, next gen ships until 2028, 2030. That's, these big new Norwegian ships that they just ordered. Those aren't going to be first coming out until 2030.
True. At least they have them ordered, though.
Yeah, at least they have them ordered, which is, say, a lot compared to this Discovery class.
Yeah, and Seascape's not LNG. Yeah, Arabia is LNG because it goes to Norway, and Norway's like, no, we hate cruise ships. Either make them environmental friendly or you're not allowed here. So that's the only one that's like that. Because doesn't it like have like a blue livery like thing?
Oh yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Possible to go from U.S. to Spain. Yeah, that birds. It's through the Suez Canal. I think it would be possible.
Yeah.
But then you probably have to stop in Dubai. Dubai is also pretty cool. I'm surprised that market hasn't kind of blown up, but there's not very many stops over there.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in that market too. That's also the funny thing. Is like I'm surprised they don't like cruising. Well, they may, but it's just not as popular over there.
Tensioned part of the world, but oh well.
Brady says he's got a wicked array of topics for us. Oh boy!
Oh, fantastic! Bring it on!
Bring it on! Wait. We're running out of topics here. But yeah, I think that is funny that you mentioned Dubai. Like I noticed the Bellissima like several years ago, was over in that Middle East area, but and like kind of in the Suez and the Red Sea and all that. But there's also a lot of conflict going on over there, so I guess that's part of it now. But it's there is a good amount of money that way, and those are very beautiful coastal cities too. So that's a market that could definitely be up and coming over the next couple of years to go alongside China and Asia.
True. Yeah, like I said, circling back, I'm surprised Dubai hasn't taken off. It's so cool over there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bellissima's over there. Edge class was over there at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Virgin just sent the new ship over there, and now it's in Australia.
Right.
And the other thing is that this is wild. I was talking to Justin about this a couple weeks ago. How, Virgin ships, they look new and everything, but they look huge, but they're so tiny compared to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, damn. Like, because they're only like 100, like in the low hundreds, ton-wise, like 110. I'm like, they don't look it.
Right. Because when I think of a 100,000 ton ship or a 110 1,000-ton ship, I think of the Conquest class, and
and like Pearl, Norwegian Pearl, like that kind of class.
Right.
Ships.
I see that size, but it's definitely a little bit shorter, but taller. So it gives the illusion that these ships are a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And it's definitely very, very unique how they did it, and very cool how they did it. And actually, Jaco in the chat here has had mentioned something. I think Royal didn't like that Carnival ordered 2 XL ships from Meyer Papenburg with the Discovery class in mind. That may have been like kind of purposely done too, because now I think if anybody's gonna make those Discovery class ships, it's gonna be Papenburg. Like they're the ones to do that. They're like one of the best shipbuilders out there. They have, being a smaller ship, they're gonna have the means to do it. But I'm sure Carnival probably said, "Oh, we could probably push these ships back a little bit further, or for them." But if we ordered 2 of them, it definitely could have been a not that they would do so. Actually, they would do it on purpose, but
I mean, they're just building.
If they're that small, I mean, they could build it in the separate hull. I mean, they're building smaller ships in that little side hull that they have.
Yeah, Jaco, you just said that. Mayor Turku. I think Mayor Turku is going to do those.
Mm-hmm.
Then in Cadiz, no, they don't have a shipyard in Cadiz. It's France, where they do all the Oasis ones. They could do them there too.
Oh yeah, the
But I
Oasis
haven't seen
class.
anything
Yeah,
popping up over there.
yeah. I think a lot of cruise lines seem to be really favoring Meyer lately, and obviously for good reasons because they're doing very very good jobs, and like some of those ships are all regarded as some of the best in the industry right now. So I mean, they're definitely doing something right. Not that not that there's nothing against Fincantieri and Saint Nazaire with the Oasis class. I mean, they're obviously going to all do great jobs with the Oasis class, but
Yeah. What's the one that built the Virgin ships on the west coast of Italy? Is that another Fincantieri?
yes, Fincantieri still built because Fincantieri has shipyards like all over Italy.
Got it. Because those ones, every single one of those ships has been delayed. So I don't know if it's a shipyard part or a Virgin payout part, but there's always been issues there. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know COVID kind of affected those a little bit too, but mostly, I mean, they also took delivery of Scarlet Lady pretty much in March of 2020, which great timing there. I don't think they even took their first revenue sailing yet.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but it'll be really interesting to see what happens with the Asia cruise market over the next couple of years. I think it's gonna boom, and it's gonna boom very fast is what I think. And again, as big as the market is over here in the United States, there are also over twice the amount of people just alone over in China by itself. It could easily swing to where, yeah, it's still. I think Royal even had recently said that 80% of their clientele is Americans. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's not like they're going to just abandon the U.S. markets, obviously, but you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a lot more ships going over there. You're going to see, Anthem of the Seas, Ovation of the Seas, Spectrum is never going to leave there. We're probably again. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Wonder of the Seas goes over to China. As much as I would hate to see her leave.
I think that's probably the most going to be the one possibility.
Right. That
would go over there.
Yeah. If any of the Oasis are going to go, it's going to be Wonder. But as much, yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting next couple of years for the cruise industry and for that market. And I feel like it's very different over there too, as far as the ports. They're not these beautiful tropical destinations. A lot of these places that they go to are very historic too.
Oh, 100%. All the temples and stuff. So
right, cool. I'm pretty sure with Kyoto, Nagasaki, all those there's always those giant ancient temples, the very historical stuff over there. So it's definitely not anywhere going to Jamaica, going to the Bahamas, things like that. They're very definitely not beach day cruises and vacations and things like that. But again, that's a different type of cruising over there.
Yep.
And of course, biggest example is Norwegian Joy. In its original form was purposely built, had an entire park up top instead of a pool. So it
has like a garden.
Right, exactly.
There's a tiny pool in the corner.
Right, exactly. And it still shows that today. I mean, it's still just a tiny pool in the corner, and they just made the rest of it pool deck. But I don't think we'll ever see a cruise line go all out, and at least not for the next maybe 10 years or so, until that market really proves itself again, like it was. But even in that sense, you're also alienating an entire group, or entire thing, to where, if you have to do something like the Norwegian Joy, you're gonna have to spend millions and millions of dollars to just move it over into a different area.
I think it's bound to happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
And the other thing is, do you think Royal Caribbean is going to start selling off Vision class ships?
Oh yeah, once we start seeing these Discovery class, eventually they're gonna start selling.
And who's going to pick those up?
Probably
some rando, or you think they're just going to get scrapped?
If anybody, it might be one of these small Chinese cruise lines. Honestly,
Could be. Or maybe the Greeks. The Greeks do be buying a lot.
they do be buying a lot of cruise ships for some reason, but I
Did you see the
really
article?
don't know.
Tangent again. Did you see the article today of them photoshopping the ship like in all these Greece ports with that stupid mermaid on the front of it?
No, I haven't.
Oh God.
You're gonna have to send that
it's
to me.
horrible. They're worse than like the Norwegian and Carnival photoshoppers.
Oh God. The best was Margaritaville at Sea did one recently of they photoshopped the ship it's bigger than the bridge, but they photoshopped it next to the Skyway Bridge.
I saw that.
And
I saw
the ship
that.
itself was photoshopped larger than the bridge, and I was like, who did this?
And
But,
speaking of that ship, it just finished its sea trials. It should be heading over here any day now.
oh my God, that's here in June, isn't it?
I know we're gonna go see it, right?
Oh, I'll definitely be there to see it.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't have any plans to go to Tampa anytime soon, but I will go see it.
Okay.
There's, well, at least for the summertime, it's very slow over in Tampa, but I will definitely go over there. Definitely go over there and see it. But I think with that, that's probably a good stopping point. I think we kind of beat this topic to death a little bit, but
Yeah, we did. It was
definitely a lot of big stuff coming around the corner though for the cruise industry, and I think that's going to really push us back to what we used to see pre-COVID.
Yep.
All right, and with that, thanks again so much everybody who's listening and watching. Brady, thank you for blowing your entire paycheck in super chats. It's very much appreciated. We thank you again, everybody, for listening, watching, whatever your platform you're on, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Peace out, guys.